In 1666, a huge fire tore through London. It went from Blackfriars all the way up to Tower Hill and as far up as Moorgate. The fire allegedly began at Pudding Lane, where to this day there is a monument erected by Sir Christopher Wren, which interestingly aims the Catholic papacy for the fire, which you don't really hear about. I've covered this in the past. On the plaque, it blames popery, which at the time would refer to the Vatican, Catholicism in general, which is something I find fascinating, especially considering it's not often mentioned. But despite it destroying so much, we still have those pubs, and we're going to go see them today. So this fascinating pub is the Hoop and Grapes. As you can see just by looking at it, it's very old. It's a Grade 2 star listed building that sits in a very interesting location. Directly behind you is the road up to Liverpool Street. Directly to your left, that way, is the heart of the East End, Whitechapel, Mile End, Bow, and so on. And to our right, you'll go into the West End, into the business sectors. This pub was said to have seen the fire when it was ending. Apparently the fire stopped about 50 metres roughly from the pub. So we are so lucky to have it. Unfortunately, it's closed at the minute, so I can't walk in and have a look. But I don't think I really need to when the outside displays its age and its, dare I say, its magnificence. You can get some great old photos of this building as well that still exists on the internet. Do people still say the internet? I don't know. But look how, I mean, a word we used is pissed. You know, look how pissed that door is. It's magnificent. And you can see the old-fashioned cellar still in use. And look up and just see how how bent it is. It looks like a house of horror, doesn't it? But I love that. I couldn't get enough of it. The inside is wonderful as well. I can see written inside, it says, Aldgate High Street once led to one of the 8 gates of London and became an important travelling route in and out of the city. The 8 gates obviously surround what you would know as the City of London. Not London, the City of London. Just down there you can see the Thames. That black lantern in the distance is sitting on the Thames bank, and that vicinity once had a tunnel which led all the way up to this pub just here, the Old Wine Shades. Now in 2015 this was bought by L. Davies Wine Merchants, and much of it was restored to what you see today and to make it look more old-fashioned. But there's very little left to really talk about with this pub, other than the fascinating fact it exists. In the City of London, it's quite common for pubs like this to be closed on a Sunday, so I can't go in and have a look, unfortunately, but here it is, a survivor of the Great Fire. Come up here for me. Another building which, as you can see, it's modern building standards, wouldn't be particularly impressed with it. It's still got its wonderful old cellar. Now it's there's flats above it. But still, if you was to come to London and actually visit a pub with historical relevance, you're better off coming to places like this. 1663 written there. And this is a Grade 2 listed building, rightfully so. And I will say it once, I'll say it again and again, we are so lucky to have the few buildings like this that we have. You can say we've got a lot around London, but in comparison with the new builds going up and the way that these buildings are being made less important, it's not enough. It's not enough. So this pub was originally called the League of the Seven Stars, which is a historical nickname for the provinces of the Netherlands. And in today's time, as mentioned, is predominantly used by workers of the Royal Courts of Justice, or the Courts of Justice. If you was to come down here now and have a drink in there, you could rub shoulders with some very, very powerful and influential people. Possibly some very pretentious people, but powerful nonetheless. It's certainly kept its beauty. The story goes that Lord Mayor Sir Thomas Bloodworth halted or took too long in combating the Great Fire of London, meaning that it probably could have been stopped, or at least some of the, or many of the buildings that disappeared could have been saved. It's also very interesting that after the burning down the Gothic St. Paul's Cathedral, it was rebuilt to basically upset the papacy, upset the Vatican. It was built as a sister building, the St. Basilica in Rome, which I covered in another documentary I did named Britain's War on the Catholic Church. All of that aside, pubs like this, around events like this, are relevant to the beauty of London, the United Kingdom, England in general. So wherever you're from, if you're coming to this country and you want to see some true history, it's in abundance. There's no need to go to these newfangled buildings, these new builds, the Millennium Dome, things like that. They're horrific. One lifetime could never see the amount of history there is to research, enjoy, and discover. Think for yourself.